He found a secret burner phone, and what he uncovered shattered everything he thought he knew about his wife and their life together. This isn't just betrayal, it's a dangerous game of revenge and hidden truths. But before we dive into the details of the story, kindly drop in the comment section the location you are watching from, and push the subscription button for notification on captivating and interesting stories on Chase Studio series. Now let's continue with the story. It started like any other evening. Caleb Morgan, a 39-year-old mechanical engineer with a reputation for loyalty and routine, pulled into the driveway of his quiet suburban home in Raleigh, North Carolina. The lights were on, the scent of jasmine drifting from the front porch garden his wife, Emma, had planted just last spring. He stepped inside. Soft music played. Dinner was warm on the stove. Emma had already left for her night shift at the hospital. She was a nurse, often working late. But tonight, something was off. The hallway light flickered slightly, like it had last week. Caleb made a mental note to replace the bulb. As he walked to the bedroom to change, he reached into Mia's nightstand drawer, looking for a nail clipper. Instead, he found it. A small, black burner phone. Cheap. Prepaid. Tucked beneath old receipts and a nearly empty bottle of hand lotion. The screen lit up when he pressed the side button. No lock code. 3 unread messages. Caleb stared at the screen, his pulse quickening. Emma wasn't the type to hide things. They'd been married 9 years, weathered infertility, 2 miscarriages, job losses, and the loss of Caleb's brother. She was his anchor. His everything. Hands slightly trembling, he tapped the first message. "We can't meet at the cabin anymore. Too risky. He's getting suspicious." The air left Caleb's lungs. He tapped the second message. "Tell him whatever you need to. I just want one more night. Then we vanish." And the third. "You're not who he thinks you are, am I? And soon, he'll know everything." Caleb sank to the edge of the bed. His world, routine, solid, secure, cracked at the edges. Who was Emma talking to? What cabin? And vanish? This wasn't just an affair. This was something else. Something dangerous. He placed the phone down like it might explode, then reached for his own device. No messages. No missed calls. Nothing to suggest his wife's life was unspooling into chaos behind his back. And that's when it hit him. He hadn't really known Emma for a while now, and he had no idea what she was hiding. But he was going to find out, even if it destroyed him. The next morning, Caleb stood in the doorway of their walk-in closet, watching the sunlight dance off the glass frame of their wedding photo. Mia's smile was radiant. Honest. Or so he thought. Now he couldn't unsee it, the slight tilt of her body, the bare leather tension in her shoulders. Had that been guilt? Caleb didn't go to work. Instead, he sat at the kitchen table with the burner phone, scrolling through messages and call logs. Most were deleted, but one number kept popping up, no name attached. Just a string of digits and timestamps, late nights, early mornings, often when she claimed she was covering extra shifts. He opened his laptop and began tracing the number. It pinged off a tower near Redwater Creek, a secluded area an hour outside of Raleigh. A place with no cell reception unless you were close to the main road. And it had something else: cabins. Rental cabins. Remote. Private. He clicked through listings. One in particular stood out. Cabin 6, owned by P. Gallagher. Long-term stays. No questions asked. He called the number. A gravelly voice answered. "Yeah? I'm looking to rent cabin 6. There was a pause. Booked. Been that way for months. Caleb's heart pounded. By who? The man scoffed. You a cop? Caleb hung up. Who was she staying with? That night, MIA came home as usual. She smiled. Kissed his cheek. Talked about a patient with a broken ankle. Made him tea. And Caleb pretended. He smiled back. He kissed her forehead. But behind his calm eyes, a storm brewed. The woman he loved was a lie. And he needed to know who she really was. The drive to Redwater Creek was long, winding, and drenched in a thick morning fog. Caleb hadn't told anyone where he was going. He needed answers, alone. As the trees thickened and the GPS lost signal, Caleb spotted a weathered wooden sign, Gallagher Cabins, keep quiet, keep clean, pay in cash. He pulled off the road, parking where the trees could shield his car. Cabin 6 sat at the edge of the woods, partially hidden by pines and draped in silence. It didn't look abandoned, but it didn't look lived in either. Caleb approached slowly, heart hammering. The door was locked. He circled to the back and found a cracked window. With a little force and a lot of guilt, he pried it open and slipped inside. The air was stale, like no one had opened the place up in days. Or weeks. But someone had been here recently. There were 2 coffee mugs in the sink. A toothbrush with red lipstick on the bristles. A cell phone charger on the nightstand. A silk robe draped over a chair. And on the bed, a single photograph. MIA. With another woman. The woman's arm was around Mia's shoulder. Her smile was soft, affectionate, intimate. On the back, written in smudged pen. C. Owe you my heart. Forever, M. Caleb's mind spun. Who was this woman? He looked around for more. Then he opened the closet. And stepped back in horror. The woman from the photo, dead. Her body slumped in the corner, skin pale, eyes vacant, a dried trail of blood at her temple. Caleb staggered back, bile rising in his throat. She'd been murdered. And MIA, his wife, had stayed here. With her. Loved her. Then vanished like she never existed. Sirens suddenly blared in the distance. How? Who called them? Someone knew Caleb was here. He ran. Out the window. Into the woods. And as he fled, one terrifying thought consumed him. What if MIA didn't just lie? What if she killed her? Caleb didn't stop running until his lungs screamed. By the time he reached his car, the sirens were closing in. But they weren't for him, yet. He took the back roads, driving until Redwater Creek was a blur in his rearview mirror. He couldn't go to the police. Not yet. His fingerprints were everywhere. He'd broken into a cabin. And worst of all, he'd fled the scene of a homicide. Think, Caleb. Think. Back in his garage, he spread the photo and burner phone out on his workbench. He stared at the smiling woman next to MIA. Young, dark-haired, elegant. A warmth in her eyes Caleb hadn't seen in Mia's for years. He needed to know who she was. He needed to know everything about the woman his wife had loved, and possibly killed. He powered on the burner phone again and searched through the photos. There were dozens more. The same woman, laughing with MIA, holding hands, kissing on beaches. Dates ranged back nearly 3 years. Caleb's stomach turned. Mia's affair hadn't been fleeting. It was a second life. A parallel reality. One he had never even glimpsed. Then, a breakthrough. In a folder labeled legal, Caleb found a scanned ID. The woman's name was Natalie Rhodes. A Google search revealed more than he expected. Natalie Rhodes had been an environmental activist, a passionate public speaker, and a rising star in a DC-based nonprofit. 2 years ago, she had gone off the grid after a scandal involving stolen funds. She was never charged. The case had quietly been buried. And now she's dead in cabin 6. He dug deeper. Natalie's last known address? A P.O. box in Alexandria. But below that, in smaller print, a contact name listed for emergency purposes. MIA Whitmore. There it was. In black and white. His wife wasn't just Natalie's lover. She was her next of kin. Why? How? Caleb's head throbbed. The more he uncovered, the less he understood. Suddenly, the burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. He stared at it, frozen. Then it buzzed again, this time with a message. You shouldn't have gone to cabin 6. His blood went cold. Then a second message followed. Walk away, Caleb. Or you'll end up like her. Caleb stared at the messages, his pulse pounding in his ears. Walk away, Caleb. Or you'll end up like her. The threat wasn't subtle. And it wasn't idle. Someone knew he had gone to cabin 6. Someone was watching. He glanced out the garage window, nothing but the quiet suburban street. Then he remembered. The gray sedan. It had been parked 2 houses down for 2 days now. He'd noticed it once when taking out the trash, windows tinted too dark, the driver never stepping out. He turned off the lights and moved carefully through the house, crouching behind curtains, peering through blinds. The sedan was still there. Engine idling. A faint red glow from a cigarette inside. He couldn't stay here. Whoever killed Natalie Rhodes was now watching him. An MIA? She still hadn't come home. He checked her texts again. Scrolled back months. Now the messages to Natalie read like coded love letters. They talked of secret meetings, trips to cities Caleb had never known MIA visited. Natalie had called her May. A name that meant nothing to Caleb. He called Mia's number, voicemail again. I know about Natalie, he said into the phone. Call me. We need to talk. Before it's too late. He ended the call and turned his focus to the one link he still had, the P.O. box in Alexandria. It was a long shot, but Caleb was done sitting back. He grabbed his keys and left. The drive to Alexandria was tense, made worse by the gray sedan appearing again, this time 2 car lengths behind. Am I being followed? Or am I just paranoid? He changed lanes. Made unexpected turns. Drove through a gas station and back out. The sedan stayed with him. He pulled into a crowded shopping center, ditched his car, and slipped into the side entrance of a gym. He waited there for 15 minutes, watching from the tinted glass. Finally, the sedan cruised past, then disappeared. Whoever was tracking him, they were pros. But Caleb had bought himself a window. He made his way to the P.O. box. It was inside a rundown mail store next to a boarded-up deli. Inside, the clerk barely looked up. Box 1984, Caleb said, flashing Natalie's ID he'd printed. The clerk, bored and unimpressed, handed him a small stack of letters and a large envelope. Caleb walked back to his car and locked the doors. Inside the envelope was a set of photographs. Surveillance photos. MIA. Entering government buildings. Talking to men in suits. Handing off briefcases. Hugging Natalie in shadows. One of the letters was typed. We have the flash drive. You're out. DeWitt says no loose ends. DeWitt. There it was again. The name that had haunted the other stories he'd uncovered online while researching Natalie. It wasn't just an affair. It was espionage. Corruption. And MIA was at the center of it all. Caleb leaned back in his seat, heart racing, every illusion about his wife shattered. This wasn't just betrayal. This was war. Caleb sat in his car, the photos spread across the passenger seat like fragments of a life he never knew. MIA wasn't just having an affair. She was involved, deeply, with something bigger. Something dangerous. The burner phone, the hidden cabin, the name DeWitt, the coded messages, and now these surveillance photos. The men in suits weren't lovers. They were handlers. Operatives. Or worse. Caleb drove back to the motel he'd checked into hours ago under a fake name. He couldn't go home. Not with the gray sedan still lurking, and not with the questions piling up faster than answers. He opened his laptop and did what MIA had always warned him not to do. He dug. Typing Marcus DeWitt and Natalie Rhodes into the search bar brought up nothing at first, just noise. But adding keywords from the letter, flash drive, disappearance, cover-up, opened a darker layer of the internet. Forum threads. Whistleblower leaks. Conspiracy archives. Natalie Rhodes wasn't a mistress. She was an informant. Working undercover. Possibly for a private intelligence group. possibly even the government. DeWitt was named in multiple allegations as a high-ranking official who buried investigations into corporate espionage and asset laundering. MIA, if that was even her real name, was mentioned only once. An anonymous poster called her the courier. A woman who moved messages, money, or intel between high-risk parties. No digital footprint. Always under a false identity. Trusted only by the top of the chain. The woman Caleb married had lived a second life. He went cold. A ping drew his attention. A message on a private email he hadn't used in years. From unknown@securemail.pro. Subject: "You're in too deep." Body: "She warned you. Now get out." This doesn't end well for husbands who start playing detective. Attached was a photo of Caleb himself, in the parking lot outside the P.O. box, taken just an hour earlier. He nearly smashed the laptop. This wasn't paranoia. This wasn't drama. It was surveillance. It was a warning. An MIA? She hadn't contacted him. Not once. No call. No text. Only silence. Later that night, someone knocked on the motel door. 3 soft taps. Then a pause. Then 2 more. The same rhythm MIA used when coming home late from work. Caleb froze. He reached for the drawer, no weapon, just a pen. He slid to the peephole and looked out. It wasn't MIA. It was Natalie Rhodes' sister. The woman in the photo beside Natalie in the contact list. The one who had been silent throughout the investigation. She looked wired, shaken. "I'm Ava," she said, whispering. "You need to come with me. Now. Before they find you." Caleb stared at her. "Who's they?" She looked over her shoulder, panicked. "The people your wife works for." The motel room door clicked shut behind them as Caleb followed Ava into the parking lot. She moved fast, scanning the lot with the twitchy paranoia of someone who'd spent too much time looking over her shoulder. Her car was an old, beat-up Honda. No GPS, no electronics, no traceable anything. She tossed him a burner phone before even starting the engine. "You don't turn it on unless I say. If they ping your number again, we're done." Caleb stared at the device in his hand. It looked just like Mia's. "You knew about her," he said quietly. "You knew who she really was." Ava didn't look at him. "I knew her by another name. I didn't know she married." She pulled out of the lot and merged into the night. "Was MIA even her real name?" he asked. "No," Ava said flatly. "To you, maybe. But to everyone else, she was the courier." She moved files, secrets, sometimes people, between enemies and allies who pretended not to know each other. And Natalie Rhodes. "My sister," Ava whispered. She got close to DeWitt through an internal investigation. She was collecting evidence to bury him for good. MIA helped her move the data. Caleb clenched his fists. Then why did she end up dead? Ava's eyes turned cold. Because someone betrayed her. They drove into the rural outskirts, to a shuttered hardware store with metal grates over the windows. Ava unlocked the side door and led him into the dark. Inside, she flipped a switch revealing a hidden office behind a false wall. A laptop. A filing cabinet. Maps pinned to a corkboard. Mia's face was on several of them. She stayed in contact through codes, Ava explained. Every photo, every text, encrypted. But Natalie decoded most of them before she died. She pulled up a photo on the laptop screen. A still image from a traffic camera. MIA standing beside a man in a suit, DeWitt's second in command. "They weren't lovers," Ava said. "They were exchanging a drive. That was the last time I saw her on the grid. After Natalie died, MIA vanished too." Caleb's mind spun. Then what the hell was I? A cover? Ava turned. "No. You were her escape plan." Hours passed as Ava laid it all out, how MIA had gotten too close, how she tried to walk away, how the people she worked for made walking away impossible. Every courier knew too much. The only way out was silence. But she left the phone for me to find, Caleb said. She wanted me to know. Yes, Ava said. But she also wanted you to survive. Suddenly, the burner phone in Caleb's hand vibrated. It was on. He hadn't touched it. Ava's eyes widened. She grabbed it and threw it into a steel bin, smashing it with a hammer until it sparked. Damn it! They're on to us. Outside, headlights lit up the cracks in the boarded-up windows. Ava grabbed a hard drive from the safe and tossed it to Caleb. That's what they killed Natalie for. What MIA was trying to protect. If they find you, they'll bury you next. What do I do? Caleb asked. Ava shoved the duffel into his arms. You disappear. And you don't look back. But Caleb didn't run. Not yet. He had the proof. And somewhere out there, MIA was either alive, or already a ghost haunting the lies she tried to outrun. And if she was alive? He was going to find her. Even if it killed him. Caleb stood at the edge of a cornfield outside Jackson County, the early morning fog curling around his boots like ghosts reluctant to speak. Ava's directions had led him here, to a forgotten farmhouse with boarded windows and a collapsed barn. The hard drive weighed heavy in his pocket, and even heavier on his conscience. Inside the farmhouse, the floorboards creaked like tired bones. Dust covered everything, except one corner of the room, a folding table, an old generator humming faintly, and a solar-powered satellite modem blinking green. This wasn't a hiding place. It was a war room. He connected the hard drive to the laptop and typed in the passcode Ava had whispered just before she disappeared into the night, "Courier's debt." The drive opened. And with it, chaos. Dozens of files. Audio recordings. Bank statements. Transcripts. Surveillance footage. Blackmail videos. Bribery trails. A spider web of corruption leading to judges, CEOs, and even senators. At the center of it all? Marcus DeWitt. And beside him in some of the oldest documents, Natalie Rhodes. Caleb's heart pounded as he watched a video recorded 5 years earlier, Natalie in an interrogation room, arguing with DeWitt. "You can't cover this up forever," she snapped. "There are other copies. There's a courier out there who knows everything." DeWitt leaned close to her, calm and menacing. "Then we'll find her. And silence her." The video cut out. Another file autoplayed. This time, a voice Caleb hadn't heard in days but would recognize in his sleep. "MIA. If you're watching this, Caleb, it means I failed. Or worse, I chose to vanish before they could make that choice for me." He sat frozen as her recorded voice spilled secrets, about her past, the courier network, and how she had been building a backdoor out. The marriage hadn't been fake. The love had been real. But the danger never left. "They would have come for you too," she said softly. "That's why I ran. But if you're watching this, maybe there's still time to make it right." Tears blurred his vision. He wasn't just chasing a ghost. He was chasing the pieces of the woman who tried to save him by disappearing. Back in the city, news reports exploded. A known judge had been indicted. A scandal involving missing government funds hit primetime. And Caleb? He made a choice. He took the hard drive, encrypted it again, and sent it anonymously to every major news outlet in the country. He wasn't a courier. He wasn't a spy. He was a husband who wanted the truth to matter again. A week later, a letter arrived at the safe house. No return address. Inside, a photo. It was blurry, taken from a distance, but it was MIA. Alive. Standing on a pier somewhere near the Gulf. And scribbled on the back in her handwriting. "Still watching. Still waiting. Finish what we started." Caleb stood beneath the flickering neon sign of a roadside diner in southern Louisiana. The letter had led him here. The note from MIA was real, there was no doubt now. But what did "finish what we started" really mean? Was it justice, or revenge? Inside the diner, The air smelled of coffee and desperation. A waitress gave him a cautious glance, then nodded toward the corner booth. There sat a woman, wearing a hoodie pulled low, sunglasses despite the dim light. She looked up slowly. It was MIA. Not a hallucination. Not a memory. Her face had changed, thinner, worn. But her eyes were the same. Caleb slid into the booth across from her, barely breathing. "You're alive," he said, voice cracking. "I had to be," she replied. "For you to finish this." They sat in silence for a beat before Caleb pulled out the envelope she'd left behind. The photo. Her note. MIA nodded. "I knew once DeWitt's name broke, the files would surface. And I knew you'd be the only one I could trust to carry it. You faked everything," he whispered. "The burner phone, the silence, the betrayal." Her eyes welled, but she didn't look away. "I never meant to betray you. But there were people watching us. Every move. Every word. If they thought I was out, they would have killed you." He clenched his jaw, rage and sorrow swirling. "You should have told me. They would have known. I needed to become someone you didn't want to follow." He sat back, speechless. Then she leaned forward, lowering her voice. "There's one last piece, Caleb. The courier network had a list, names, safe houses, whistleblowers who were still alive but in hiding. But someone's been hunting them down." "DeWitt's cleanup crew?" "Worse," she said. "His replacement. Someone already embedded inside the federal investigation. We called him Thorn." Caleb frowned. "What kind of name is that?" "The kind you don't pull out," MIA said darkly. "He's the one who killed Natalie Rhodes. And if we don't stop him, he'll erase every trace of what we've uncovered." She slid a flash drive across the table. Encrypted coordinates. 3 remaining couriers. Each holds a key to decrypt the master list. "And if we don't find them?" Caleb asked. "Then everything we did dies in the dark." Just then, the lights in the diner flickered. A truck pulled into the lot, headlights off. Men stepped out. Dark suits. Comms in their ears. Mia's face tensed. "They found us." Gunfire shattered the front window. Diners screamed and scattered. Caleb grabbed Mia's hand and dove behind the counter. "Back door," she yelled. They sprinted into the night, bullets pinging off metal as they disappeared into the marsh. Later, hiding in an abandoned boat shack deep in the bayou, MIA collapsed beside Caleb, out of breath. "We're not running anymore," Caleb said. "We're taking this to the end." MIA looked at him, bruised but blazing with determination. "I didn't come back to run. I came back, to burn it all down." The bayou was silent, save for the hum of insects and the distant splash of water against the shack's decaying stilts. Caleb stood over the flickering laptop screen, the flash drive MIA handed him now decrypted. 3 blinking red dots appeared on the map, 3 couriers, 3 locations, and 1 countdown in the corner of the screen, 72 hours. 72 hours. Caleb asked. MIA nodded, breathless. "After that, the file self-erases. That list goes with it." Caleb glanced at her. "And what happens if we find them all in time?" "We decrypt the master list. Names, accounts, tapes, locations. Everything DeWitt and Thorne ever covered up." He exhaled slowly. "Then we finish what we started." Location 1, Charleston, South Carolina. The first name on the list was Daniel Price, a former tech contractor who built the original secure communications system for the courier network. He had gone dark after the Rhodes incident. Rumors said he was paranoid, he'd watched 2 of his colleagues disappear. And now, he lived like a ghost. Caleb and MIA reached Charleston by dusk, cloaked in rain and fog. They found Daniel in a boatyard, disguised as a mechanic. "Get away from me," he said the second he saw them. "I burned everything." MIA held out a worn courier pendant, the only one Daniel would recognize. He froze. Then, after a long silence, led them into a back office. "I knew this day was coming," he said, eyes bloodshot. "Thorne sent someone last month. I barely got away." "Do you still have your key?" MIA asked. He pulled a data stick from a floor safe. "I was going to destroy it tonight." "Don't," Caleb said. "We're getting the others." Daniel hesitated, then handed it over. Outside, a sniper's red dot landed on the window. "Down!" MIA screamed. Glass shattered. Daniel hit the floor, blood pouring from his shoulder. MIA fired 2 shots into the dark. The shooter fled. Caleb grabbed Daniel. "We need a hospital." Daniel's voice gurgled. "No, just take it. Run. Get to Evelyn Trent in Phoenix. She has the second key." He died in Caleb's arms. Location 2, Phoenix, Arizona. Evelyn Trent wasn't what Caleb expected. She was in her 60s, ran a yoga studio, and lived in the open, no fear, no secrecy. She welcomed them with mint tea and a Glock on the table. "I knew Daniel wouldn't make it," she said. "That's why I kept this safe." She handed over her encrypted key, then looked Caleb dead in the eye. "You only get one shot at this. Thorne will come. He's not like DeWitt. He doesn't care about power. He cares about silence." MIA asked, "Why didn't you run?" Evelyn smiled faintly. "Because some of us are too tired to run anymore." An hour later, her studio was firebombed. She didn't survive. Caleb stared into the flames from the car window. "That's 2. MIA clenched her fists. "And Thorne's closing in." Location 3, Detroit, Michigan. The final courier, Jared Kim, was last seen teaching computer science under an alias at a local college. They found him lecturing a class on cybersecurity. Jared didn't argue. He knew what was happening. "I've been ready," he said. "I just didn't think it'd be you two coming to collect." He handed over the 3rd key, then froze. "My students," he whispered. "Get them out." Men in tactical gear stormed the building. Caleb and MIA grabbed Jared, exiting through a back hallway. Alarms blared. Gunshots echoed as Jared was hit in the leg. "I'm slowing you down," he groaned. "We're not leaving you." Caleb shouted. But Jared shook his head. "Get to the source. End this. Now." He pushed them forward, firing behind him as they ran. Final hours. Back in the Bayou shack, soaked and battered, MIA inserted the 3 keys into the encrypted portal. The file decrypted slowly, line by line. Names. Politicians. CEOs. Agents. All on Thorne's payroll. And then, a location. Caleb blinked. "What's in New Haven?" Mia's hands trembled. "The original courier vault. Everything we ever collected. Audio, video, documents. Untouched. But locked." The screen flashed a final message. "Master list unlocked. Identity confirmed. Next login requires biometric signature, Thorne." They stared at the screen. "If we want to expose it," Caleb said, "we'll need to find him." MIA looked at him, resolve solidifying. "Then it's time we hunted the hunter." The wind whipped through the cracked windows of the rented sedan as Caleb and MIA sped toward New Haven. The silence between them wasn't empty, it was dense, filled with calculations, fears, and the weight of everything they'd lost. 3 couriers dead. A truth half unlocked. And one name still untouched by exposure. Thorne. Caleb's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "We're chasing a ghost. We don't even know what he looks like." MIA opened her laptop, navigating to the decrypted master file. "Not entirely true. There's one subfolder we haven't opened yet." She clicked, eyes only, Rhodes. A grainy surveillance video loaded. Timestamped 7 years ago. The scene, a black site in Ankara. A man, back turned, interrogating someone off camera. And then, he turned. Caleb's breath caught. Short-cropped silver hair. Scarring along the right jawline. Military build. Cold, dead eyes. He looked straight into the camera before it cut to black. M.A. whispered, "That's Thorn." Washington, D.C., Classified Archives Facility. They pulled up to a concrete structure hidden behind layers of bureaucracy and razor wire. Inside, buried deep in the archive's biometric vault, lay the Courier Vault, a physical and digital failsafe that could only be unlocked by a biometric trace tied to Thorn himself. They posed as federal contractors, using forged IDs and bluffing their way past 2 levels of security. But the final room, the vault, was unmanned, silent, and impossible to crack without Thorn. Caleb stared at the reader. Then it hit him. "We don't need Thorn alive," he said. "We just need his face." MIA turned sharply. "You're suggesting we draw him out, make him come to us, then extract the biometric?" MIA hesitated. "He'll know it's a trap." Caleb nodded. "That's the point. The bait." They uploaded a false breach alert onto a known whistleblower site, claiming to have the full Courier archive, and naming Thorn as its creator. Within 2 hours, there was a response. A message pinged on Mia's encrypted terminal. "You want the truth? Let's meet. Midnight. Wren Hollow Train Depot." It was signed, T. Wren Hollow, midnight. The depot was long abandoned. Tracks rusted. No trains in a decade. MIA set the laptop on a steel drum, data feed ready, biometric scanner armed. Caleb stood watch, gun tucked into his waistband. Then came the footsteps. Measured. Calm. Thorn emerged from the shadows in a black coat, no weapon in hand. He looked just like the video, older, colder, his eyes devoid of humanity. "You've come far," he said. "But you don't understand the fire you're playing with." "We understand plenty," Caleb said. "We know about the judges, the bribes, the murders." Thorn didn't flinch. "And what do you plan to do with all that knowledge?" "Expose it," MIA said, voice steel. "With or without your help." He smirked. "Then I suppose it'll have to be without." He lunged. Caleb blocked the strike, wrestled him to the ground. MIA grabbed the portable scanner and pressed it to his face. Beep. Biometric signature acquired. Thorn's knee slammed into Caleb's ribs. He broke free and fled into the shadows, but not before turning and delivering one final warning. "You think justice lives in data? You're wrong. Justice dies in silence. And you've just painted a target on your backs that will never fade." The upload. Back at the vault, MIA inserted the biometric scan. The system recognized it. The vault hissed open. Inside, hard drives, evidence logs, video files, photos, everything. Everything. MIA began the upload to secure cloud channels. She encrypted backups. Distributed copies to global journalists and whistleblower sites. They didn't wait. 48 hours later, news exploded. Secret intelligence operative behind decades of global black ops exposed. Thorn network dismantled. Dozens of arrests as hidden archive comes to light. The FBI raided offices in 6 countries. Whistleblowers emerged from hiding. A congressional hearing was scheduled. But Thorn? Gone. Vanished into the wind. Caleb stood on a cliffside overlooking the coast, the sun bleeding into the ocean. MIA joined him, hair windblown, a quiet smile on her face. "You did it," she said. Caleb turned. "We did it. And we're still breathing." She handed him a small envelope, Elise's last message from the vault. It read, "If you're reading this, it means you chose the truth. And that means you're already free." Caleb looked out at the water, his past dissolving into the tide. "No more secrets," he said. "No more lies," MIA added. Together, they walked away, free at last. If you enjoyed this episode of Chase Studio Stories, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Your support helps us continue to share impactful and meaningful content.